At the center, we just welcome Sue Nellis, and she comes from Compasion Pregnancy Center.
Thank you.
Yeah, God bless you. Amen. You might move the mic back.
Oh yeah, there we go. I probably don't need to be heard twice, do I? Thank you so much for once again having me here. I cannot tell you how much I love this congregation. Every time that I walk into this building, I can feel the Holy Spirit here, and I see the joy and the delight that you all have in one another's presence, and it is just really, really good to see. You have something that not every church has. You do. Yeah, absolutely. So praise the Lord for that. Absolutely. Well, Compasion Pregnancy Center, I think that I asked this last year, but I'm going to ask it again. It's a bit of a test. Who knows where we're located? Who's ever been there has an idea where we are? All right. Compasion is Macomb County's only medical pregnancy resource center. We are at 16 Mile Road in Gratiot, right next to the Taco Bell. So that's a good landmark for you to know. So we are a Christ-centered outreach that is a critical portion of our ministry. We're a Christ-centered outreach that empowers those who face an unplanned pregnancy to choose life. Amen. And our vision is a community that recognizes that all human life is sacred. Amen. It is so critical. So we are not only completely pro-Christ, pro-life, we're also pro-grace. There are so many people in our communities that are wounded by the pain of abortion or of an unexpected pregnancy that need to know that there's love and there's hope and there's healing available. That's a critical part of our ministry. So we have, let's see, we can go forward another slide. There's a couple of affiliations that I want to talk with you about. They're important for you to know that we are a part of. We are a part of Heartbeat International. We're also a part of NIFLA. And let me tell you a little bit about those two organizations. NIFLA, actually I read an article this morning about them in the news. NIFLA is a legal organization that helps to protect pro-life laws, freedom of speech laws, things of that nature. And if you heard last summer, the Supreme Court, Becerra versus NIFLA, NIFLA versus Becerra, there you go. They are a key portion of arguing those laws all the way up to the Supreme Court level so that we can continue to do what we do. Becerra is the Attorney General in California, and he mandated a law was passed, and it was all the way up to the Supreme Court level was appealed. But this law would mandate that every pregnancy center in the state of California would have, in a 48 font in their waiting room, information to where that person who came to a pro-life pregnancy center, where they could find the nearest free Medicaid-paid abortion.
Of course. Mandated.
And also mandated in a 13 font on all of their intake papers that same information. But there was not a requirement in the abortion clinics in that same 48 or 13 font where that same woman could find free help for obtaining a no-cost pregnancy test and ultrasound. That got appealed all the way up to the Supreme Court level, and NIFLA won. Amen for that. We'll know that in the state of New York, something super similar is happening there. It's not that posting of information, but it's something that would require pregnancy centers to not be able to require that someone that wanted to be employed at the pregnancy center would be pro-life, that they weren't even allowed to ask that question. So this battle continues, but we know that the Lord is the victor in that. Amen. Yes, amen for that. So we're a part of NIFLA. That's a key component of our supporting them and them supporting us. And then VITE. Vitae is an organization that helps us to use Google AdWords, to use the internet, something that Satan so often uses for evil, but it helps us to reach out to those women that need our services. So we use geofencing, so that if they search for abortion near me, abortion pill, that our ad pops up closer, higher in those things, so that they can get those free resources. So some of the things that we provide, Compasion Pregnancy Center provides free lab-grade pregnancy tests. We also provide free 3D ultrasounds.
Wow.
And if you have not ever had the enormous pleasure of seeing a 3D ultrasound, it is a game changer for women that are unexpectedly pregnant, or the father of the baby that may be with them, that this pregnancy is not something that they see fitting into their lives. And so it is easy for them to look at this just from an idea that's easy to wipe away. But when we bring them in for that 3D ultrasound, that idea comes from here, a concept that's easy to ignore, and it comes to their heart. And it becomes reality, especially when they're able to see baby's heartbeat. When they're able to see baby moving, when they're able to recognize that we can see that spinal cord forming already and that skeleton of all of those bones. We can see God knitting together that body that changes their life. So we also offer physical, emotional, and spiritual support. We know from all of the women that we see that it is not the actual baby that creates so much nervousness and unexpected. It's the change. It's, this isn't what I thought was going to happen in my life. This doesn't fit with my goals. And so if we can help that woman to take this baby and recognize the blessing and the honor of parenting, and help her to recognize, and him, that your life does continue. You can still go to college. You can still have that marriage and that job. Your life is not over. That is so critical. So that physical, emotional, and spiritual support is really important. We also offer information on pregnancy, but abortion alternatives. We talk about adoption. It grieves me how few women will choose adoption. And it is such a wonderful, wonderful option. I tell a client whenever I have the opportunity to, I don't agree ever with an abortion decision, but there are some times that I can follow the path that has brought a woman to that decision. I can see her logic. And I need to take her away from that flawed logic, but I can understand her rationale. But one thing, and I've challenged multiple clients with this, that I can never see the rationale, is a woman saying, I could never make an adoption plan. I could never give up my baby because I'm going to go and abort my baby. Well, why can you not make an adoption plan? Well, because I'd be attached to the baby. I would have felt the baby, and I would have known the baby was there for 9 months, and then I'm going to hand the baby off? Well, it's the same baby now. It's the same spirit. It's the same life. It simply needs more development. What's the difference? I don't understand. Is that seedling that's growing in your garden not just as valuable as that full-grown tomato plant that will produce fruit? Does it not require this portion, that seedling stage, to become this? Does it not? So what, if we take away every seedling, we'll never get here. So I don't understand the logic of that. So talking about that abortion alternative is really important for us. But confidential mentoring. As we continue in this world where we take God out of so many places, where we allow Satan more reign because we don't understand the authority and the power that we have when we belong to Jesus. And we don't say, Satan, you have no place here. You must leave. By the blood of Christ, you have to go. When we don't do that, we allow and we cede ground to Satan, and then we wonder why our abortion rates and our broken families and our grieving wounded people and our drug addictions and all of this, we wonder why these rates are what they are. We shouldn't, but there's healing and hope and grace for all of those things. And so our confidential mentoring, when we have a woman that comes to us and a man, because we have a men's mentoring program as well, and men, we need you. We need you. Right now we have 2 male mentors. And we have 1 during the day, 1 at night, 1 day a week. We need so much more than that. Because when we have a woman and a man that comes to us, that unexpected pregnancy, they choose life. When I say that we're pro-life, we're also pro-parenting. So it's not a, chose life, hope that goes well for you, see ya. They need so much more help than that. So we'll walk with them, seeing them at least monthly, at least until baby is 24 months old. And there are times that they need help longer than that, and that's okay as well. So when we see them monthly, we walk through a curriculum that they choose from our list. That client deserves the dignity of choosing what they most need to grow stronger in. So is it learning how to parent? Is it learning how to have a healthy, whole relationship? Is it post-abortion recovery? Is it a Bible study? Those are all things that we offer to them, and we want to help them to grow so that baby can grow in a home that knows and loves Jesus, and that we can help to keep babies out of foster care, that we can help people to grow in a home that knows the Lord. And in order for that to happen, these people need a place that they can come and they can share their wounds and they can share their concerns confidentially. So anytime you'll ever hear me talk about a story about a client, know that either I've been given permission to do that, or I have obscured so many of the details and even mixed a couple stories together that no one could ever say, oh, that was my story. So one of the things that I'll share with you in just a few moments is I do have Nicole's testimony to read to you. But in addition to that confidential mentoring, we offer those prenatal, infant, and child care classes. We have a medical director who is Beaumont's Doctor of the Year last year. What an incredible provision that the Lord has brought, right? She is an incredible woman of God. And so we are so happy to hear, and I'm going to share with you in a bit as well some exciting things that she's doing that we're a part of that just blows me away what the Lord's doing. So we also give maternity and baby clothing, furniture and other baby equipment, abstinence education, Bible studies. That shower that you're having for us provides some of those things that when our clients walk through those monthly mentoring sessions, they earn baby bucks that they spend in our baby boutique so that they have the dignity of choosing what's best for their family. It wouldn't be any more correct for me to go to lunch with you and decide what you're going to order for dinner or lunch than it would be for us to say to our clients, here's what you got today. I don't know what they need, they do. They deserve the dignity of selecting their own things. We also offer Embrace Grace and post-abortion support. Embrace Grace is a program that we have that Nicole, who was in the accident on the way here, connected with us through. And I want to share her testimony. So imagine, and I know this won't be at all hard for you, imagine I'm a 24-year-old young woman. All right, so I'm going to read Nicole's testimony for you. My name is Nicole. I'm 24, and I'm a wife and a mother to 4 small children. Every time I say that, I hear the usual, oh, you're so young, 24, and you have 4 kids? Do they all have the same dad? Are you married? She does hear this all the time. In fact, the other day at work, a guy looked at me and said, why are you so tired? Oh, because you have 4 babies. That's your fault. You couldn't say no, could you?
Wow.
Strangers often look at me with a face that says they're thinking that my life is over and I'm never going to amount to anything other than a struggling mother on welfare. Well, my life's not over. In fact, it just started.
Amen.
That's right. Things haven't always been easy for me. I did struggle, but it wasn't because of these 4 small faces. They have actually made me a better person. I came from a broken home. My parents divorced when I was 4, and my older brother, older sister, and I moved with my mom to a 2-bedroom apartment. My sister, who is 11 years older than me, turned into a second mom. She raised me while my mom made ends meet. My mom worked 2 jobs, and she tried to do what she thought was her best. She bought me what I wanted, she spoiled me, and I slept in her bed with her every night. But she could never fill the role of dad for me. I wanted my dad, and he wasn't there. We didn't see him very often because my parents couldn't agree on much of anything. Eventually, when I turned 10, he moved to Tennessee for work. At 13, my best friend's brother raped me, and it made my issues even worse. My heart turned to anger, and my mom didn't know what to do with me. So I was thrown in and out of mental hospitals and visited juvie more than a handful of times, juvenile detention. I knew that I wasn't bad, and I knew that I wasn't crazy, so this just confused me more. I felt as if I was being rejected by my mom for putting me there, and I questioned why my dad wasn't there. At 13, that's a hard pill to swallow. I remember the first time that I had a panic attack. My mom and I had gotten into an argument, and like most teenage girls and their mom do, it got loud. But she called the police on me, and that resulted in me being handcuffed to a hospital bed for a psych eval. I cried out because I was lonely, because I couldn't understand how a woman who gave me everything and made me so dependent on her to the point that I couldn't sleep without her could just drop me off at a hospital with strangers and let me go. I'll never forget the way my heart hurt that day. The codependency that I had with my mother turned into codependency with the teenage boys I got into relationships with. At 16, I was hanging out with negative people and getting kicked out of school. Eventually, I ended up in a juvenile detention facility for 1.5 years. In the moment, I didn't agree with the punishment, but juvie truly gave me a leg up. I earned my GED in there. I learned structure from healthy-minded adults, and I grew up a bit. I don't know where I would have ended if I hadn't gone there. When I was released, I entered into a relationship with my childhood best friend. I always wanted children because I knew they would love me and never leave me like so many people had. And I wanted to be a wife. But I still had those internal daddy issues I'd never dealt with, and I was still very young. We ended up getting pregnant with my daughter at 17, and we married soon after. Things were okay for a while, but I wasn't happy. The baggage I carried around from my past was destroying me. My rush to grow up was finally catching up to me. I married a man without realizing what that commitment meant. I also had a child not realizing my teen years that I still wanted were gone, and my life had to be all about her. I struggled, but I pushed it all inside, put a smile on my face, and went on to have another child, my son, 1.5 years later. When he was about 3 months old, I couldn't wear my fake smile anymore. The truth was starting to pour out of me. Here I was, a miserable young mother who sat at home with 2 children on a daily basis while their father worked 2 jobs. I didn't go out of the house, I didn't do anything for myself, and it drove me crazy. I started to cheat and live out the teenage life that I had never had. When we divorced, I was so confused and torn. I wanted to be a wife and a mother, but I also wanted to be young. I couldn't pay the bills, I didn't have a job, and I hated myself for destroying my family. I turned to drugs, to cover up my pain, and soon lost custody of my 2 babies. They were placed with my mom. I had nowhere to go and nobody to lean on. So I made friends who struggled and were hurting as well. The drugs only covered up the pain for so long, and at night I would cry for my babies. I was lost. The people I hung out with did not have my best interest in mind, and their stupidity was contagious. But I didn't want to be alone. I prostituted myself to make money, and I was a mess. I ended up pregnant by a guy who had nothing going for him. All I could think was that I couldn't keep the baby because of the drugs I had in me, and because I didn't even have custody of my born children. I made a hard decision and got an abortion. The emotional pain of that sent me into a further depression. Soon after, I got into a relationship with a man that I just met, and things moved fast. He promised me the world. He told me he would take care of me and that his family was nice and allowed me to move in with them. I felt like I was a part of something again. Within no time, he became abusive and controlling. I got a job as a waitress, and he took every cent that I made. He was abusive, and I ended up with a fractured jawline and a broken eye socket. Instead of holding him accountable, his family lied for him and defended him, manipulating and using me. After a while, we broke up, and I thought I had gotten away from the abuse. But within a few weeks, I started feeling nausea and emotional. Something wasn't right. I took a pregnancy test, and it was positive. I got a hold of him and thought maybe he would change now that I was pregnant with his child. But the baby didn't make any difference at all. He told me that it wasn't his and blocked our communication. I was so mad at myself for ruining another kid's life. I was determined to make this man act right. I contacted him, begged him, and pleaded, but he turned me away each time. I finally gave up, and as soon as I did, he came forward to me. I was willing to play the fool for my baby to have 2 parents. So we met and talked. He promised all those great things again, and within 24 hours, he was putting his hands on me. Reality hit hard, and I knew that I had to make a choice, not only for myself, but for this innocent baby that I was carrying. That was the day I told myself he would not be in my child's life and that I was going to do better. I was able to move in with the family of a close friend. I found a good job and started the process of getting my children back, along with going to counseling for my issues. I decided to make an adoption plan for the baby I was carrying. I didn't want this man in my life or my child's life, and I had to protect my baby. At 5 months pregnant, I met my current husband. I might have had a plan, but God had something else in mind, doesn't he always? I wish God would have sent me a warning sign, because I was not too nice to this man. In fact, he had to work really hard to be a part of my life. I remember the look on his face the first time he tried to kiss me, and as he closed his eyes and moved in, I turned my cheek. But he fought for me, and he won. My husband was and is my knight in shining armor. He took my hand, asked me to marry him, and stayed through the pregnancy as if my son was his. He also helped me to get my other kids back. When my son was born, he signed the birth certificate and vowed to be my son's daddy, so the adoption plan I had made was no longer needed. The father of my other 2 children had walked away, so my husband not only took on the baby that I was pregnant with as his own, but also my other 2 children. I was so grateful for this man I was so undeserving of. I knew God had given me another chance at a family. Now, it finally made sense. Going through everything I did helped me to appreciate and understand what family really means. Shortly after we got married, I became pregnant with our 3rd baby boy. That's when I found out about Embrace Grace at Compasion Pregnancy Center. I started attending, and am so glad that I did. Although I was doing well, I still needed a mentor to guide me and reintroduce me to Jesus Christ. I needed an example of what a marriage was and how to include God in my daily life. I learned to take all I've been through and use it to reach out to others. You can only control what you do, not what others do. But I've never felt judged at Compassion, and they were always there with me, with arms wide open. Now we include God in our daily life and make sure our children know who He is. My husband works full-time so I can stay home with the kids, and I take them to their sporting events. My father and I have reconnected and speak on a daily basis. I love cooking dinner, cleaning the house, attending my kids' social events, and having a structured family environment. Things aren't perfect, and there'll always be mountains to climb, but I'm confident that I will beat any roadblock I come across with the love and support of my second family at Compasion Pregnacy Center. Because of the mentors I've met and God's good grace, I am who I am and where I am today. So that's what Nicole was going to share with you as she got here. Right? But there's even another part that she was going to add here. That last baby boy that they had, when she was pregnant with him, one of the ultrasounds that her doctor did, they said, oh, we see signs of spina bifida. This baby will be paralyzed, this baby will never walk, this baby will have all of these struggles, and you should consider abortion. And she said, no, absolutely not. And we prayed, and baby was born completely healthy. So God is amazing. In addition to those life stories, there is life here in addition to babies being born. So let's talk briefly about some client statistics. We're going to go to the 2019 client statistics slide. So last year, in 1 year, we served 769 individual clients at Compasion. In 2,598 individual client visits. We performed 311 ultrasounds and 519 pregnancy tests. And the last stat that I have on this slide is important for a key reason. 36% of our clients were 24 years old and younger. 64% were 25 and above. It's not just those teens that we think of that are having these pregnancies that end in abortion. That people group that is at risk has moved. The majority of the people that are having abortions in Michigan are between 19 and 25. They're not those teenagers. So let's look, though, at some really sobering statistics. Why is a pregnancy center needed? Macomb County, in just 1 year, in 2018, Macomb County residents had 2,702 abortions. And look at that comparison to that live birth number, 9,189. 19% of all pregnancies in Macomb County ended in abortion. Wow. That 2,702 abortions is more than Chippewa Valley High School's entire student body. The entire student body. So imagine the outrage, the grieving, the rending of garments that there would be if every year Chippewa Valley High School were wiped off the face of the earth and everyone within it died. Wow. That essentially is what happens with abortion. And every year rebuild the school and repopulate it and wipe it out again, and rebuild and wipe it out. That is what happens with abortion. The state of Michigan, in 1 year, had 26,716 abortions. And that is the entire capacity of Little Caesars Arena, plus 25%. That is a sobering statistic. That's how many people every year we lose in the state of Michigan. So let's look at some other really sobering statistics. Abortion and Christians. So sometimes it's easy to think, oh, it's those people outside the church that have abortions. It's not anyone here that knows the Lord. It's not anyone that attends church. 37% of women who've experienced abortion attended church at least once a month when they had the abortion. And 70% of women who've experienced abortion would identify themselves as Christian. 70%. These are United States statistics. And 50% of women who've had an abortion and attend church have never told anyone. Church, we have work to do. We have walking wounded right here among us who need to know that it's not just the, oh, I lied, or oh, I went shopping and spent more than I told my husband, or oh, I cursed and swore, it's not just that's happening here among us. It's abortion as well, and we need to be a safe place. We need to be a hospital for the wounded so that we can help them to come to know God's grace.
Amen.
We need to reach out to the community that has experienced abortion, both the men and the women. But if you're here today and you have experienced this is a divine appointment for you. Talk to me afterwards privately. I will get you information about our post-abortion healing program. There's grace and healing available, and you don't have to walk wounded with this. You can be like our Nicole, who has seen God redeem that abortion story, and she is now willing to come and share it and say, you don't have to walk hurt. God wants healing for you. All right. So, this next slide is my favorite. This talks about the number of lives saved at Compasion. We have, when a client comes to us for a pregnancy test or ultrasound, there's one of 3 categories that we determine that they're in because it helps to lead us material-wise and conversation-wise where we go. So they may either be likely to carry, they come to us and they don't know the Lord, but everything else that's within their life brings us to a conclusion that they're likely to carry this baby to birth. That's one thing. They could also be abortion vulnerable. That would mean that they have some things within their life that would make them susceptible to choosing abortion. They may not have insurance. They may not be married. They may not have a steady relationship. The father of the baby may not be supportive of them carrying the baby to term. But they also may be abortion-minded. And if they're abortion-minded, they are most at risk. That means that they have already decided to have an abortion, and they're coming to us to have that no-cost pregnancy test and ultrasound to find out how far along they are so that they know how much that abortion procedure will cost.
Oh my.
And I've had people say, well, don't you feel used when they just come and get that free service from you for that purpose? And I say, no, that's exactly the person that I want to see. That's our target. Because we've got the opportunity to speak about what's already happening in their body and show them baby on ultrasound and talk with them about their options. And no, you don't have to go this way. And if you do, we're here for you for post-abortion recovery anyway. Okay, so those are our 3 categories. So of just the abortion vulnerable and the abortion minded, last year alone, we had 372 of that type of clients. And of them, 321 of them chose life.
Wow.
That's amazing. I love that there are that many lives, that many people that are alive today because of that.
Amen.
All right, and I've got one more concept that I want to share with you. And this is when I said earlier that our medical director is an absolute gift from God. We're going to go to the slide that talks about a second chance at life. So one of the methods that there is of performing an abortion is called a medical abortion, chemical abortion. Those are all things that are interchangeable as far as terms. It is a series of 2 medications that are given for a pregnancy to continue to grow. The woman's body produces progesterone, and progesterone is a hormone that's within her body. There are receptors for the progesterone, and the progesterone chemically fits in like a key would fit into a lock. How the abortion pill works The first that's given, the mifepristone, looks chemically similar to progesterone. So those receptors that that woman's body has, that progesterone fits into to continue that pregnancy, this mifepristone fills that slot. And so then the progesterone to continue can't get in. It's like trying to put a key into a lock that already has a key into it. And so baby starves for those hormones that will keep baby growing. Baby starves of nutrition and dies. That's the first part of that procedure. After baby then is dead, the misoprostol causes the uterus to contract, expelling baby. And that can happen at work, at home. That can be a really grueling procedure for that woman. And that can happen up to 10 weeks of life for that baby. But isn't that always but Jesus, but God? This procedure, if that woman chooses this method, and within 72 hours of taking that first pill, changes her mind, there is a 65% chance of reversing that and saving that baby. Abortion pill reversal or abortion pill rescue is what this is called. And what this requires is a doctor, and our medical director is the only doctor within 40 miles who does this. What it involves is giving the woman a large dose of progesterone and doing that on a regular basis until she's 12 weeks along, and then everything continues as normal. And there have been already over 900 babies alive or soon to be born because of this reversal.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? And isn't that just like our God, for there to be a second chance at life? Because we all need that from Him spiritually and physically. Here it is for these babies. So our doctor provides all of those medications, all of those screenings, and she sends those clients to us for weekly ultrasounds to continue to affirm that baby is still surviving and progressing. And so we are enormously, enormously pleased to be a part of that. So just a couple other things that I wanted to share with you. We have a new volunteer orientation coming up on Tuesday, January 28th. We would love to have you, if the Lord is pricking at your heart, come and see what this is about. We have so many ways that you can volunteer to help us. Not all of them involve client contact. If you want to do something behind the scenes, we've got that for you. So either at 10:30 or 5:30, come and see what we're about. I just would love to have that. And then we also have some key events coming up that benefit us. Save the date, Thursday, April 2nd, for our fundraising banquet. This event brings in over a third of our annual budget. It is a key event for us. And we have an amazing speaker this year. I'll tell you just a tiny bit about her. She is a former Palestinian who is now a lover of Jesus. So just a little teaser about her. She will just share an incredible story with you. We also have a new event coming up this July 25th. We have a zoo walk. We will be getting into the Detroit Zoo before it opens to the public, raising funds, gathering pledges, and then you're in the zoo for the day. And we have our Golf for Life Scramble event August 31st. There's the date. And that'll be at Burning Tree again. And then we will also do a comedy event this coming fall. That's just in the beginning stages, but a Comedy for Life event. That's coming up too. So those are the things I wanted to share with you this morning. I'd love to see you at the luncheon, and I am just honored and thankful for all that this congregation does for life, and how I know that it is a completely trustworthy place for me to send clients to say, hey, if you need a home that will bring you closer to Jesus and welcome you in, this is a good place to be. So thank you so much.
Well, this is Sanctity of Human Life Sunday. That's why we always have someone come in from CPC Abigail Ministries or Teen Challenge to talk to you about Sanctity of Human Life Sunday. H.B. London, Dr. Dobson was very instrumental in getting this going a number of years ago. Our own Wyatt and I were asked to sing songs and pray and speak at the first CPC that was started in Macomb County out here. So that was many, many years ago. I don't look that old though, do I? But that's what it was, many, many years ago. And so Wyatt did a song. He wrote that song called Speak Child. And that's what this was all about.